Manya. I'm the founder of Xolani Women of Hope. But in this project, I'm the project lead, that is SSY Project. So basically, we've been doing some collaborations with the Organization of African Youth in cleanups. And when they were aware of what we are doing, especially in waste management and supporting women in repurposing the plastic bottles. And we were lucky to be among the organizations that were mapped out. And looking at the objectives of the project, supporting women, especially in informal settlements, in terms of not only waste management, but also how can they make use of this waste, that is turning waste to wealth. So that is how we were identified as one of the organizations that were mapped in this project. So for us, actually, our very early projects, they were in soap making. We were training women to make liquid soap. But then now the next thing, how are they going to package it? And what are the, I can say the affordable, not cheapest, the affordable ways of packaging their soap. And looking at the informal settlements, there's a lot of waste, especially the plastic waste that we find it's just thrown in the drainages, and that is how we got into now using the plastic bottles to repackage the soaps, and this made that it ensured that the cost went down. So one of the hazards that we noticed is the waste, and then how can we repurpose the one-use plastic bottles. Later on, we moved on to repurposing the glass bottles, glass jars, when we moved into making cosmetic products. And now we could now recycle the glass jars, because glass, actually you can reuse it many times, unlike you can reuse the plastic bottles. Well, the gaps that existed in terms of advocacy, people being aware, for me as a woman from the informal settlements, I want to look at what is in for me. I'm not really looking at the bigger picture of what this waste is going to do to me. So for me, so long as I'm able to get the plastic and repurpose it, or that it speaks a cost direct to me. But the awareness of, as much as I'm removing this waste from the drainage, I'm actually making my environment to be safe, not only for me, but also for my neighbors. There was a gap in terms of the interventions and the bigger picture on how it's affecting the environment. So it was basically of me as an individual, how can I be able to benefit from this? So meaning, if it's just me looking at the benefits, then I might not really achieve the bigger picture. Initially, we started working with women between the age of 25 to 35, and most of them, we find that they were doing waste picking. But we find there are bottlenecks when it comes to even waste management. So you could hear sad stories of for you to be allowed to go to the dump site to even pick this waste. Sometimes they could go through gender-based violence, sexual harassment, and even rape cases that happen. So you want to do an exchange. It is seen as a male-dominated field. So you as a woman coming here, you're getting into our space. So I felt there were more issues than what meets the eye. It's not about the waste. It's about, the bottlenecks in this system, and how can women be involved. Looking at the rate of involvement, especially the young women, they were really not that much involved, because after all, staki noma, staki kwenda kwa kupick waste, and then you have this kind of issues. But for older women, you have kids who have to eat, you're like, you know what, maybe I can compromise. But at the end of it, is that really what I want? One thing we noted, there is a big knowledge gap when it comes to climate change. If I'm only looking at it from the point of what am I benefiting, then I won't even advocate for better things or better opportunities for women. So one thing, when we noted that there was a bigger gap in terms of knowledge, so the project has really come in handy. Recently, we concluded a training on that is sensitization on climate change. And it was so interesting that when we gave before the training survey, the mean was around 12 out of 20. But the post, it was 19 out of 20. I mean, we were able to achieve. So looking at, yes, they had information. And remember, these were women in climate activism space. So we are not talking about someone who just doesn't know anything about climate change. So they had something, some little knowledge on climate change. But after the training, looking at a mean of 19 out of 20, then it tells you that it was successful. They were able to look at the bigger picture, because again, when we approach climate change as something so new, we miss the point. But when we look at it as this is something that has been there, it's only that now the magnitude has changed, or rather we now need to be so intentional. Looking back when I was growing up, you'll find our mothers taking back the medicine bottles back to the clinic for them to be refilled. What were they doing? Actually, that is what you're doing, but now explaining to them, why are we doing this? Even farming practices, mulching, grazing circles, making them understand that we are not talking about something that is abstract, because already we are seeing the effect, the floods that we're experiencing, the heat waves, and then now, how can we scale further from what our parents used to do and now be intentional in what you're doing? What has changed? Before we got into this level, we walked a journey with SSY Project. We were able to be mentored, to be capacity built in different aspects, even looking at what the law, or rather the Constitution of Kenya, offers for me, so that I can then go forward and advocate for this, because I'm not advocating for something that is not already embedded in the Constitution. So being aware from the part of I deserve this as a citizen, then how can I package this information to policymakers? So I feel we as an organization, we are able to be capacity built, so that we know what are our rights, and then what are these policies that we, as a community, as Xolani Women of Hope, we can advocate for. So that is what has changed. And even the networks that we were able to create, I mean, we're talking about SDG 17 partnership. I'm able to borrow a leaf from one of the, the CSOs like Ubuntu, like Mazingira. So that also came in handy, because when you're looking even for these policymakers, if you don't have links that you can be able to get an audience with them, it might be difficult. So that one has also changed. We, as an organization, so we used to do the trainings under the SSY training, but whatever we are trained with the few representatives, we come back and train our staff, we come back and train our members. One of it is budgeting. That skill is something that will help me not only on this project, but also will help us as when we apply for other projects. Like, you can also tell that one of the challenges that you're having in this space is in terms of funding. The funding that comes in Kenya is massive, but can you imagine less than 1% goes to women-led organizations? So then, the fact that I'm able to be capacity built in budgeting, in how to do proposals, in how to even, advocacy, sometimes people think is activism, but advocacy, I came to understand, is how can I package these realities that women are living, so that I can get a buy-in with the policymakers, the government, and then these other private players in the system. So I feel that we've been capacity built in all aspects, and even visibility. That has really come in handy to our organization and me as a person. Talking of this, we are, I think, into the third or fourth month, or actually third month of the project, but I can say I can't quantify it. Of course, sometimes what you can measure, like what you quantify, sometimes can be even bigger than what you can measure. But I can say from a few activities that we had our first radio show talk last month. And you could see the responses that people were giving, the questions that people were asking. You're like, you know what? People really are, they're sharing their lived experiences. And this led me to sit back and rethink of climate action. Actually, it's not about environment. It's about the people that are involved. It's about dignity and integrity. So, like, the listenership was around 13,000 of the show that we had. And we had several questions that were being asked. You can see that we are taking the message out there, and people are now feeling that, you know what, we can demand for better because we put these people in spaces. But then what struck me is the behavior change in the listeners. They're like, oh, so you mean the one thing that I do can have this kind of ripple effect? That one bottle that I throw outside can bring floods into my house, and even floods mixed with sewage and such. So with this behavior change, there is also positive feedback on what people are doing, especially in the group. People are now even sharing what different interventions they are doing in regards to climate change. Actually, from the radio show, that really brought a lot of inquiries, mails, people wanting to know then how can we come in to help. How can we be involved in Xolani Women of Hope activities, in empowerment? So we are having an upcoming soccer match with young women. And this is one of the ways that we can be able to involve them in terms of passing that information out there that climate action is actually a lived reality. But I and you, we have a role to play. When you start something from a point of passion, it really breaks your heart seeing that you can't really do a lot. As much as Xolani Women of Hope will want to go into all informal settlements in Nairobi, you feel that sometimes you feel helpless. But one thing I realized, there is a bigger role that policies play that me as Xolani Women of Hope I cannot be able to play. And what satisfaction or what feels good about this project is that, you know what, I'm using my voice to support other women, to also use their voice to demand for better, and it means the impact will be felt, will be bigger than just, me having 20 women only that I'm training. So it is more of amplifying the voices of the lived experiences and demanding for better. So that one, it really makes the impact to look bigger. And in the conclusion of this project, we are planning to have a summit, Gender and Climate Justice Summit, where we look forward to have the policy makers, and we're planning to present a policy brief, because these are stories, but then how can you package them into a language that the policy makers are going to understand, and what are these women demanding for? So we are yet to see the bigger achievement, but so far so good. We can be able to talk of changed behavior. We can be able to talk of more voices being amplified. And I didn't understand something as basic as the sun. For you, you're like, hey, Joy, I really want to bask. But people are living with albinism. For them, they need sunscreen. For them, sun is not something that they enjoy. And the sunscreens that you're having 2 hours within the time you applied, after 2 hours, it's not even working. So it's even personally making me to be aware of how other people are experiencing climate change differently. The project has enabled us to amplify our voices, because we've been able to increase our reach of the women that we are supporting in terms of capacity building, and even the fact that they are able themselves to even amplify the voice further, because as an organization, we cannot be able to reach more. But even looking at some of the organizations that we worked with, training some of their women, they've even gone further to have their own in-house trainings. So if I can train 3 and you train 4, and it means that the impact is growing bigger. And we expect to even surpass the target of 3,000 people raised. I believe that the change will continue to happen, because looking at one of the women that we're working with is doing agriculture, urban farming, and now they're even better placed to learn different methods of farming, and even they're able to know, even before I plant this kind of maybe sapling, is it suitable for this setup, or what is this plant that I can plant so that I can even get more? For example, okra is one of the plant that is nutrient rich, and again, it doesn't need a lot of water. So if then I'm able to make better decisions in terms of the knowledge that I've received, then it means that the effect is going to be even felt more. Apart from that, Xolani Women of Hope, even in our own different projects that we are doing, we're taking the learning, even from now, recycling the glass bottles, then being able to even give incentives so that they can return more. So we believe the future is, getting into green skills, green spaces, and growing the impact more. When we've been having conversations around climate action is so broad. So you find that people who are in immobility, they're like, then how can you be able to support into getting into immobility? Because again, one of the barriers of moving to green skills is the finances, and also even the capacity building itself, the network itself. For example, we have women who are recycling products and they're making good choice out of it. Then where is the market? So those are the conversations that we need to have then, because if I'm recycling this, after this, where am I going to sell this? So I feel like the part of capacity building, because we are also changing, we are working in a space that is changing. There are legislations that are coming. Initially, we had one, I think last month, on e-mobility. So then how can we be able to move as the market is moving? Currently in Kenya, we don't have a gadget to help us measure the lifespan of battery for electric motorbikes. So then what are these? Yes, we are moving to electric mobility, but how are we going to ensure that we don't get a battery with a shelf life of maybe 2 months not getting into the country? Because again, this battery is going to be dumped in Kenya. So I feel like, yes, we are working e-mobility or e-skilling is a bit new, but again, we need to have continuous capacity building, improvement, and even let us see how we are going to mitigate the effect that may be brought as we are moving to these green skills. I'd like to say thanks for the SSY Project, because the support they've given us is not only financial, it's also even being able to hold your hand. There's one thing about giving me finances, and there's another thing of holding my hand, because when I'm having an issue with 1, 2, 3, I can still go back and have this kind of support. So I want to say thank you. And I'm here to see how big this impact is going to grow, and opportunities that will open doors because of this project.